Hello there, I'm Mitch Free, and I am here with Jason Ray from Paperless Parts. Excited to have a good conversation and find out what you guys have been up to. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mitch. I really appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. You know what? I remember a few years ago, I can't remember what year it was, you and I had breakfast or lunch in Boston, and I think that was sort of the early days when you guys were thinking about paperless parts.
Yeah, that must have been right at the end of 2017. I think we had just built out our marketplace, and we were trying to figure out, is this the right direction to go, or do we want to go more in the direction of a quoting solution? And I remember that. I remember sitting down for breakfast.
Yeah.
So end of 2017, we had 3 employees.
Wow.
It's kind of wild.
And what are you guys up to now?
We have 140 people.
Wow. I remember leaving that meeting thinking, wow, these guys know what they're doing and they're going to do it. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about your background and what led you to paperless parts.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking. Before paperless parts, I was in the Navy.
Okay.
So I was supplying.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, well, thank you for your tax dollars. I appreciate it. I got a lot out of the Navy. It was amazing. So I spent a lot of time learning how to buy things. And one of the things that I noticed with our specific industry here, custom parts, job shops, it's really hard to buy things.
Yeah.
And that stood out to me. And I said, well, this is why. I don't understand. Are we bad at contracting in the military? Are we just a bad customer? What's that like? So I spent a lot of time while I was in the military going out, visiting shops, getting to see how they do business. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that stood out to me is there's this friction point right in the point of sale, right in the front office. Hard to get shops to want to quote you if they don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. If you look like a challenging customer, they don't want to work with you. And I tend to fall on the lines of, we live in a very physical world. I think this trade show more than anything shows how physical of a world we live. There's no metaverse here. This is in your face.
Yeah.
And so if we live in a physical world, innovation is going to be physical.
Right.
And in order for innovation to happen quickly, you got to be able to find sources of supply that can move really fast. And I mean, this is a problem you're intimate with. I mean, you've known this for longer than I've been alive, probably.
A long time. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, so you came out of the Navy.
So I come out of the Navy and I connected with Jay Jacobs, my co-founder. So Jay
love Jay, rapid machining, legend in the industry, great friend.
He's been such an awesome mentor to me. Mm-hmm. So I said, Jay, I want to do what you did. This was 2016. I'm like, I want to buy a machine shop. I want to get into it, roll up my sleeves, learn the industry. I want to go out there and actually make physical things.
Yeah.
And so we spent almost a year looking for shops to buy, working with shop owners, figuring out, doing due diligence on businesses. And it just stuck out like a sore thumb. I didn't know how I was going to take over for a shop owner.
Yeah.
It was all paper-based. It was Excel spreadsheets. The prints were everywhere, the filing cabinets. And here I am. I'm not an engineer. Yeah. I'm not a machinist. And I'm like, I'm going to go into this shop. The owner's going to leave after 2 months. And this whole thing is going to fall apart.
Yeah. No digital thread in there.
Nothing. It was
and that's really common through the industry, unfortunately, right? And you know, as a lot of owners are retiring, wanting to get liquid from their businesses, I think it's one of the challenges they're facing in general is that they don't have things organized well enough where an acquirer can come and step in. They are too much of the business.
Well, and it's really sad too, because you get these owners that work for 20, 30 years building a business. You get to 7, 8 million in revenue. And then you get some financial person that comes in saying your business is worth 5.
Yeah.
And the look on their face just broke my heart. I mean, it was like, you'd see how much blood, sweat, and tears went into building a business.
Yeah.
And then to realize because you only have 2 or 3 customers or because everything is brute force, tribal knowledge driven, the business is just really risky. And I can understand from a financial perspective why investors are like, this is going to be a tough one to take over.
Sure. Taking that tribal knowledge and digitizing it really increases the value of the business.
It does. And I think that's something Jay did really, really, really well at Rapid. He replaced himself as a key operator in the business, and he was able to do that with software, and he was able to do that with management.
Yeah.
So as you know, as we think about shop owners who want to sell their business and they're saying, "Oh, I'm going to think about this the next couple of years," start to run the business out of the business.
Sure.
Because
that's what they always say. Entrepreneurs should be working on the business, not in the business.
I fall into the trap all the time.
Yeah. So it helps them think about setting up for one day when they want to exit, but it also helps set them up for scaling as well, right?
Absolutely. If you can't extract yourself from the business, you're never going to be able to leave.
Yeah.
And then you get into situations where someone buys your company and they're talking about an earnout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrible position to be in.
It is.
I think there are some really good partners who are out there buying businesses,
Yeah.
but that model of earnout,
Sure.
well, now you're trying to hit revenue targets with someone else telling you how to run your business.
Yeah. And them setting the budget so what you have to live by. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a scary model. So
Paperless Parts was born. Probably it's not where you started when you said I'm going to get into business.
yeah,
It's
so
interesting the way these zigs and zags happens based on the
we
information.
pivoted a few times. So I said to Jay, I said, look, we're not going to buy a business.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's just, I'm not the right person. There's too much risk. And Jay said, hey, step back, look at what you've learned, look at the industry. How do we help American manufacturers?
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
He said, are you passionate about it? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like, how do we make American manufacturing more resilient? How do we open up access to the industrial base?
Mm-hmm.
And so we wrote a business plan.
Yeah.
And that was the initial marketplace that we built.
Sure.
And it was really kind of interesting. So we raced through 2017. We built this marketplace. And we launched it. And you know how you're launching a new product and you expect fireworks? You're like, oh my gosh. Like I remember we're sitting in front of the computer.
Is our server big enough?
Oh my gosh. Like, what do we do if 1,000 people upload a part at the same time?
Right.
And it was kind of like one of those party poppers going off. It was like, boop.
Yeah.
And it just kind of opened up my eyes to how hard it was to build two-sided marketplaces.
It is very hard to get critical mass is something.
So here we are, August 2017. We've got this marketplace running and there's dozens of orders going through each day. And it wasn't nothing that was ever going to scale a big business.
Yeah.
And we started to look at it and I said to Jay, Jay, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
We got to figure out something else. Like we're not generating the kind of business we need to for these partners. It's not the kind of model where we become relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not having the kind of impact we want to have. And so we went in and we started looking at the data. And the crazy thing was the people that were uploading the most parts to our marketplace were actually the manufacturers.
Yeah. They were outsourcing excess, so overflow.
That's what I thought. So that's what I initially thought. So I get these guys on the phone and I'm like, so what are you doing? Are you outsourcing parts? Are you doing competitive pricing? Because they weren't buying anything.
Yeah.
They were just uploading parts to see the prices. So what they were actually doing is they were going in, uploading the parts, copying and pasting their price out of our platform into a Word document, PDFing it and using it to quote.
What an aha moment.
Oh my gosh. I sat there and I was like, so you guys want a quoting tool?
Yeah.
And now looking back, I feel really dumb because I'm like, how did I not see this?
Yeah.
How did we not know that that's what they wanted?
Right.
And so about 6 out of the 40 manufacturers that we had on the supply side of the marketplace, they said, if you build a quoting solution, we'll pay you for it.
Wow.
So we raced September, October, November, and we launched it in December. Mitch, it was the worst quoting tool in the world. It was awful.
Oh man.
You can only quote one part at a time.
Yeah.
It was ugly. I'm not a designer. So that's not my skill set.
Sure.
But we had wireframed it all out. But something crazy happened. They started using it.
Yeah.
And it just,
well, when the value is there, people will walk over coals to get to it.
yeah, it was, and that's the thing I think I've always recognized. The only thing we've actually been right about is that there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's it. We've like kind of bobbed and weaved our whole way through building this business. And the only thing that we continue to come back to is this is too painful.
Yeah.
It's too much of a problem. And I look at what's happening today with shops.
Mm-hmm.
So by our calculations, 30,000, 40,000 machine shops around the country, CNC machining, sheet metal fab, finishing.
Yeah.
And these businesses, they're sitting there and they're being run by brute force.
Sure.
But they're also small. So you've got this industry where it's hyper fragmented.
Yep.
You got huge buyers on one side and you have huge suppliers sitting on the other side. So what ends up happening? They get squeezed right in the middle.
Absolutely.
And from my perspective, I'm a big fan of fighting for the underdog.
Yeah.
Like that gets me up in the morning,
Right.
knowing that I'm helping somebody or our business is doing something good that's going to change their lives, their employees' lives, make it so their kids can go to school, go and take over the shop. Like that's what gets me going.
You guys are helping level the playing field.
That's exactly right. And that's the goal. And I find that we have this core thesis at Paperless Parts. It's like our core underlying insight. And it's that inside of the computer-aided design files, the CAD files, that information is the key to driving every decision downstream in the supply chain. So where am I going to get it made? What machines am I going to make it on?
Yep.
What material? What's the raw material size? What cutting tools do I need to make a specific feature?
Yeah.
All the way down. But the key is, and this is where I think the industry really struggles, as you move further and further away from that origin point. So the designer sitting at SpaceX or the designer sitting at Boeing. As you move further down the supply chain, the information gets more fragmented and more analog.
It loses fidelity as it goes.
Nowadays you've got people designing in AR, VR, they're looking at the part. The level of computers that are being used to design these components, you can design almost any complexity.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so far detached from the reality of what you can or should make.
That's right. Yeah. And you know, model-based definition is just increasingly gaining steam.
It is geez, the standard came out when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that we're actually starting to make progress here.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a great, because when you can put all the GD&T and all the notes in there, and then I imagine you guys have a way to extract that.
Yep. We actually just released that inside of our viewer. So now you can go in, you can load the files. Everyone in your shop can have access to the highest fidelity level file, and you can analyze and interact with all that information. I think where we're seeing it the most is aerospace today.
That's where I see it.
I'm hoping that as that playing field becomes level, because it's kind of a chicken and an egg problem.
Yeah, the shops need to be able to have the capability to view it, understand it, instead of it getting exported out to STEP and then losing that.
That's exactly right. And so what do? We default to the lowest common file format, which is a PDF.
Right.
Everybody in the world can open a PDF, including a court. Right. So you got the courtroom and they can open the PDF. So if you're debating over delivery, there's some problem, it's a contractually binding document.
Yeah.
The model-based definitions need to replace that.
They do.
Because it needs to be a computer-readable format.
Yeah.
But you guys have been talking about this for decades.
Long time. Hey, as you talked about integrations, right? What are some other partners that you're integrating with?
Oh, it's a great question. So we work with, I think, 17 different ERP systems today.
Okay.
So it's really critical. Paperless Parts sits in the front office. So we are a CRM, quoting solution, estimating. We've got intelligent pricing engines. Good. And then when you win your order, you'll facilitate that order in Paperless Parts and we'll feed it into your ERP system.
Oh, fantastic.
So the idea here is, I think one of my favorite conversations with shop owners is, what's your win rate? And how do you know what that win rate is?
Sure.
And what's your win rate by material? What's your win rate by operation? What's your win rate by part complexity? We can go really, really deep on the analytics.
That's so important. That way you spend your time, your effort, your marketing dollars, whatever you're doing, on the right customers, the right leads, and not just whatever comes over the transom.
Well, that's exactly right. And winning and quoting is all about triage. So this is a topic we talk to a lot of our customers with. If you get 10 RFQs today, where do you start?
Yeah.
Most people run it FIFO, right? First in, first out.
That's right.
So you get a really big quote package and you open that, you're going to quote 200 line items. What about the 8 others that are sitting in your inbox that are one line item?
Yeah.
And you're going to go lose that work because now 2 days later, when you pick your head up, start quoting those.
Yeah.
Those jobs have already been awarded.
And those could have been the ones one of the things I have found in my business and in my prior businesses, the fastest quote often wins.
And that's where it's really challenging. I think one thing I can say about the industry is there's just so many really good people.
Yeah.
And they conflate this idea of being a good person with making money.
Yeah.
So they think they're bad people if they make money. And so they want to do soup to nuts costing on it. They want to say, okay, well, let's figure out exactly what it's going to cost so I don't overcharge the customer.
Yeah, it's true. It's a mentality, because it's good people not wanting to take advantage.
That's exactly right. They want to be good partners.
Yeah.
When in reality, the value is actually in the speed.
Yeah.
So how do you quantify the value of time?
Right.
If I'm on an aircraft carrier and the aircraft carrier is stuck in port with 5,000 people on it, a part is worth a lot.
Sure.
Not just the cost of the metal is trivial.
Yeah.
Same thing's true. Production lines go down. I mean, you read about what GM's production line goes down. It's $1 million a minute.
Yeah.
So what's a CNC part worth?
Exactly.
It can be really, really valuable.
Value-based pricing instead of time and materials pricing.
And that's the thing that I try to convince our customers of, because, and I use this analogy with a lot of our folks, it's, you would never walk into a UPS store and ask someone to ship a part overnight at the price of ground. You just wouldn't do that. That's
Right.
They've established that time equals money.
You expect to pay for speed.
So what I try to coach all of our customers on is always offer different lead times with prices.
Yeah.
No matter what. They're like, well, what if I can't make the parts faster? It's like, all right, we'll make them slower.
Yeah.
Go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But always
People love options. People love options.
And as buyers get younger and younger, what we're seeing from them is they don't want to go back and forth.
Yeah.
So they send you an RFQ, you send them a quote. If the guy down the street is a week earlier, even if the price is higher, they're not going to call you.
No.
They don't want to talk to you on the phone.
No, exactly.
They don't want to go back and forth. Now they're instead of 200 part numbers, they're managing 2,000.
Yeah.
So they're like, forget it. I got to get these orders on order.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I remember visiting a customer one time, and we were talking about the value of speed, and we had quoted something to him, and we were a few days later than someone else, and he told me he had already accepted it and awarded it. I asked him, could you mind sharing the price? And he did. And I think for that particular part, it was like $1,500 more than what we were charging. And I was like, well, we could have saved you $1,500. He said, no, I saved 2 days.
Yeah.
What's that worth? It was like, wow, what an eye-opening moment.
You end up with an engineering team that's sitting there waiting for something. That team is really expensive.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I've seen there's a spectrum from total heuristic-based swag quoting all the way over to activity-based costing. And what's really interesting to watch in our customers is we have customers today that they'll look at it and they'll do 5 times the price of the aluminum, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, based on what they're seeing in the print.
Yeah.
And that is really fast quoting.
Yeah.
Now, is it accurate? And this is a question I drive to shops that are like, well, I want to be accurate. Define accurate.
Yeah.
Is it accurate costing? Because from my perspective, accurate is the price the customer's willing to pay for the service you're providing.
Value-based pricing. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Value.
Yeah, that's excellent. But we could do something for the metal finishing industry. We're all struggling with metal finishers these days.
You know, here's the thing. We talked about this. As you get further and further away from the point of origin on the design, the fidelity gets lower and lower. So one of the things I always talk to our shops about is I say, hey guys, send them a model. What does a metal finisher need? They need the overall dimensions. Will it fit in my tank? They need to know if they can rack it. So does it have through holes? They need to know what the surface area is.
Yeah.
And watching some of them waste time trying to figure out the surface area on a redacted print.
Yeah.
And then they need to understand the displacement volume.
Yeah.
All of those things are so easily called out in a model.
It is. Especially you can highlight the faces. These are the ones that need to be masked, et cetera.
Yeah.
Just make it easy for the fit. So speaking, one of the things once you win the job, or either as you're pricing it, cutting tools and consumables are huge. So are you guys helping there?
We're trying to. So I think from my approach, the goal is to put as much information as possible, as quickly as possible, in the hands of a skilled estimator. And we want to give that person access to all the resources that maybe they were breaking out and sending a random email for, they were having a random phone call, they were calling their cutting tool specialist. And they were saying, hey, they're trying to describe over the phone the feature they're trying to make.
Sure.
Now, if that's a really complicated feature, you can end up in a position where you either get a bad recommendation or you have to wait for someone to come out and visit you in person. So what we said is, when all parties, from the design all the way down to the end of the supply chain, when they're all reading off the same sheet of music, you get such a better outcome.
Yeah.
So one of the companies that we've been doing some work with is MSC Industrial Supply. They have an amazing group of metalworking specialists. And one of the things that they've done is they built an application, a tool, right inside of our part viewer.
Wow.
Now, this doesn't give them access to any of our customers' data unless the customer has a question. Now, the customer, what they can do is they can securely share the files with the specialist at MSC, and they can get recommendations for cutting tools. And it is amazing.
That's amazing to have that tech team backing you, because they've got a great bench of metalworking specialists that can save you a lot of time on figuring out what cutter to use.
Well, yeah, and I think the goal there is really, rather than guessing, you don't have to guess. Just ask a question. You're putting the resources. I think one of the things that I've found with estimating in general, Estimators are like air traffic controllers.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to land planes. You're trying to figure out the material pricing. You're trying to get the finishing pricing in, trying to understand if there are special tools required. You're going out to the shop floor. You're figuring out setups and machine times.
Yeah.
And being an air traffic controller, that's like a project manager.
It is.
So the more we can feed right into the system to make that job easier, we reduce risk.
Yep.
And the goal is helping you not miss.
Yeah.
Because when you miss, you underquote. And when you underquote, you always win.
Yeah,
so
you're going to win.
You disproportionately lose money on the jobs you underquote.
Exactly.
So we're doing that. We've got several partnerships that we're going to be rolling out over the rest of the year with trying to feed information right into paperless parts so you can get access to all the inputs you need for every job.
That's fantastic. You know, I know a few of your customers. I talk to them like, how's this going? They're all evangelists for you. So your implementation, you're creating value there, obviously. So as you think about the future roadmap, what can you share?
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to go further and further with, so our core technology is based off of three things. It's extraction. So everything that we can pull out of a 3D model, out of a model-based definition file, off of a PDF. So we extract, then we define. So we go in and we actually define what we're seeing.
Yeah.
This is a hole. This is a pocket. This is going to be faced. This is a bend. This is a fastener. Everything that we can define. And then what we do is we've built this organization layer where every single shop is different, right? You've been in thousands of shops.
Yeah.
They're all different and they all think about running their business differently.
Right.
So what we want to do is we want to give them really flexible automation and the ability to use everything that we've extracted and defined in their pricing formulas and in their automation. So our goal in terms of advancing paperless parts is always to be able to extract more, define it better, and make it accessible so that you can build paperless parts around your business. Because I think there's a lot of software solutions today that come to you and they say, change your business to work with my tool.
Sure.
You know, and I think it's a tall order when you're talking about a business that's been running the same way for decades.
Yes, it's not going to work. People aren't going to adopt a solution if they have to change their business to adopt to the solution. So you visit tons of shops. What's the sentiment you're hearing out in the job shop market right now?
Things are on fire right now. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Our shops are packed.
Yeah.
Our customers, now is a great time to be in American manufacturing.
Yeah, I see the same thing. Like for people that I talk to and from my shop, if you show up, if you answer the phone, if you return your quote, if you execute, there's all the business that you want right now.
And that's the thing. I think, so being a buyer, an industrial buyer, the job has changed. It used to be blood from a stone, lower the prices as much as physically possible.
Yeah.
Now it's manage risk.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of buyers and a lot of companies have learned the true cost of not having the parts when and where you need them.
Yeah.
They get to feel it through COVID. So that's changed the math.
It really has.
I'm willing to pay an extra $1 a part to have it made here, knowing that it's not going to be stuck on a ship waiting to come in from somewhere else.
Right.
And that's a really interesting dynamic shift.
Yeah.
So I look at our customers and I say, guys, do business well. So whether you use paperless parts or not, send it the second you get an email for an RFQ, reply.
Yeah.
We received your email. Don't be that black hole.
Yeah, we say I will respond within 24 hours with the quote or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly.
No, let the customer tell you, hey, we need it today.
Excellent.
All right, well, I'll get it to you today.
Awesome.
Building that relationship.
Tremendous.
One of the core.
So we got to wrap it up here.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Man, we could go on for a long time. Jay, it's been so fun, and it's been such a thrill watching you build paperless parts. I remember when it was an idea, what you've done, and I'm so proud of you and the team, and just can't wait to watch you guys continue to digitalize the industry and help so many shops get themselves in a position to scale and even for owners to exit at some point in the future. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.